The Dutch ship caught fire just after leaving Liverpool. So, Elizabeth arranged for us to carry her cargo to the East Indies.
She is very clever, Isabel, yes?
Oh, aye, she was scuttling her skirts down to the agent while the competitors were still watching the smoke go up.
I think she does not like me.
Oh, yes, she will do.
You had something to ask me.
Oh, yes. How would you feel if instead of going to Salcombe for our honeymoon, we went to Sumatra?
Salcombe, Sumatra, or the ends of the world. All I want is that we are together.
But she knows nothing at all of the business world.
Wife doesn't need to understand her husband's business. Indeed, it's awfully good if she doesn't. She's better able to take his mind off his work when he gets home of an evening.
Oh, I think she'll be able to do that well enough.
Oh, yes, indeed. The Spanish are well noted for their
fiery natures, you mean?
Something like that, yes.
But the Spanish don't have a monopoly in fiery natures, you know. Far from it.
Well, I don't like her and I never shall. And don't ask me why, because I don't know. It's just instinct. And her insistence on calling me Isabel doesn't help matters.
Perhaps she finds Elizabeth difficult to say on.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, they do pronounce their words differently, don't they? And after all, Isabel is the Spanish equivalent, as she explained. It's the way she says it, too, in those soft, liquid tones. Yes, I must say, I think Isabel does sound most attractive.
Not to my ears, it doesn't. Anyway, she's much too young for James. He's old enough to be her father.
I must say, you wouldn't think so, seeing them together.
Oh, it's the old story.
Oh?
The grieving widower losing his head over the first pretty face that looks his way.
Come now, Uncle James is so level-headed.
They're not only unsuited in years, but in temperament, in outlook, in...
Religion.
Well, can you think of anything more ridiculous? The bride and groom in church and us waiting here.
Well, to tell you the truth, Aunt Elizabeth, I thought it admirably tactful of Uncle James not to ask us to attend the ceremony. It makes his bride feel less conscious of the fact that none of her family were able to be present. And, of course, at the same time, it's absolved us from any discomfort we may have felt in having to witness a Catholic ceremony.
You're determined to be difficult.
Oh, I'm sorry, Aunt, I wasn't meaning to be.
Captain Baines. Captain Baines, well, nice to see you. Have you finished loading?
Yes, my lady, but I haven't signed a full crew yet, so I shan't be able to stay long.
Oh, well, James won't have had time to tell you, I'm sure, but he's decided to sail with you.
But on his honeymoon?
Here we are. This is your home. They're just guests.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Will. Heartiest congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to you too, Margarita. I'm sorry, I suppose I should call you Aunt.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, I hope you and Uncle James will be very happy together.
Thank you.
Congratulations, James.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
My congratulations to you, Margarita.
Thank you, Isabel.
If you would both kindly excuse me. I'm sorry, it's such a petty thing, I know, but when she calls me Isabel...
She called you Isabel?
No, please, Samuel has explained about the pronunciation being different and that Isabel is the Spanish equivalent.
Isabel was her mother's name.
No, I didn't know that. That's no reason why she can't call me by my proper name.
Ever since we've come home, I think it's time you paid Daniel a visit again.
Nonsense.
Yes, I can look after things here.
And what about the East Indies venture?
Yeah, I can wait.
They can't wait. You said yourself the only way to pay back our debts is to find this new trade, and there are some fine cargoes in those Java ports.
And the Dutch have fought hard for those cargoes. They're not going to give up their trade that easily.
Well, you're not going to let a few Dutch-controlled ports stand in our way, surely?
We need to get cargoes in and out of those ports to make the whole venture worthwhile.
So you said you'd find a way.
Aye. So far, I haven't.
I think I'm beginning to understand.
Understand what?
Why you want to pack me off to Turkey.
Hey!
You want to make me the excuse for you not sailing to the East Indies, and I know the reason. She doesn't want to go.
She does want to go. Salcombe or Sumatra, or the ends of the world, she said, so long as we're together.
I should have known that would be her attitude.
Next man.
Able seaman kettle, Captain.
Certificate of discharge.
Certificate of discharge?
Yes. It's given to a seaman at the end of a voyage. Then he has to present it to his next master.
Character for ability, very good. Character for conduct, fair.
The mate drove us hard last trip, Captain. Bit hasty with me hands now and again. But there's not a mutinous bone in either one.
All right. Sign here. Next man. Jack Avery. When I had the East Indies in mind, what do you reckon?
Beg pardon, Captain?
You want to tell me how to run my ship and how to treat my crew? I thought you might want to tell me where I'll be sailing as well.
Is he a bad seaman?
No. No, it's really good. Only as a union leader. Well, he fights for better wages and conditions for the seamen, you see.
You'll find another master who doesn't know you. The one who does and doesn't mind cutting his own throat before the voyage is done. Come on, get out. Next man.
Agreed to snatch the bread from the mouths of his family simply because he puts his fellow men before himself.
The captain signs on the crew.
But you are the owner, James. I thought you would be more just.
Jack Avery! Baines, I'd like you to reconsider your decision.
Target Tyrrell. He's got more blood on his hands than all the murderers who have escaped being hung.
Why sign on a troublemaker like Tyrrell when there's plenty of other bosuns to be had?
The master signs his crew leastways he's supposed to. Any trouble from Jack Avery and Tiger will eat him raw.
You can give the sailmaker another job.
Eh?
Well, making a canvas coffin. Every voyage that the Tiger makes, there's a death on board.
Yeah. There's just talk. I mean, there's nothing ever been proved against him.
Aye, that's because the master's always on his side.
As this one will be.
You are coming to bed.
Yes, I am.
But I thought you were... How do they say it? On watch.
On watch? On my wedding night?
Well, that's what they said.
Said?
The owner is always on watch until 4 bells. I heard the men talking on deck. When I asked Captain Baines what 4 bells meant, he said 2 o'clock in the morning. What are you smiling at?
Well, I think you've had your first taste of seaman's humour.
What? You mean they intended me to overhear them? Well, I do not think it is something to smile at.
Well, I'll have a sharp word to say to them tomorrow.
The English humour. You will have to help me to understand it. You do not regret
Regret?
marrying with me.
It's not marrying with me, it's just marrying me.
More humour?
If you were to ask me that in 5 years' time, I'd have understood it. But to ask me, do I regret marrying you not 10 hours after leaving the church?
You know what I mean.
Do I?
Did you consider it well enough before you asked me? 10 months, that is all.
You've been listening to Liverpool Tom's wedding.
Yes, but I didn't need to. The question was already in my own mind. If I was right for you.
Why do you wait until now to bring it up?
I was afraid I might lose you. I loved you so much, and I wanted you to be mine. Was that what's so very wrong of me?
No, I don't know. I don't very much care.
You mentioned the storage of cargoes in Singapore.
Well, warehousing, as we all know, can be an expensive item.
Well, yes, well, I suggested to my brother that we buy 2 ships.
Buy 2 ships, my lady.
May I take this opportunity of reminding you that we are sorely in debt?
And might I remind you, Mr. Dawkins, that the whole purpose of this venture is to repay our debts. Now, the 2 ships we...
To overcome the problem.
He does have a scheme in hand, yes. Whether or not it will come to fruition remains to be seen.
My lady, might I ask where we are to get the money for the cost of all this?
Of course you may ask.
I'm sure Mr. Onedin dealt with that matter before he sailed.
Yes, he did. He left it to me to find the money. How much has James told you about his plans for opening up new trade in the East Indies?
Only that it mightn't come to anything at all. Something about the difficulties of getting in and out of the ports under Dutch control.
Yes, well, a little problem like that won't stand in James's way, of course.
Well, that's true. Aunt Elizabeth, I don't wish to be rude, but I shall have to go soon, so if you could just tell me what it was you wanted to speak to me about.
For goodness sake, don't look at it again.
I'm sorry.
James and I have decided to set up a new company to deal with this new trade. Can you see the chart from there? We need to buy 2 ships, 2 hulks, that is, for warehousing in Singapore. Singapore is just here.
Yes, my geography isn't that bad. So I assume you want to borrow the money from me for all this.
I'm sorry, it does seem to be becoming rather a habit, doesn't it? I hadn't worked out the figures until this evening. With the setting up of the new company, the cost of the 2 hulks and other incidentals, we shall need £20,000. That's not asking too much, then?
Well, you could hardly do it for less, I quite see that.
Oh, well, you're willing to lend us the money, then?
Ah, willing, yes, but I'm not in a position to be able to lend it to you.
Not in a position?
No, not until this impending strike at my mills is settled one way or the other.
You said nothing to me about a strike.
No, you didn't give me a chance. Then you telephoned. You were so anxious that we should talk here.
Well, what am I going to do? James is depending on me to find that money and to set up the company while he's making the voyage.
Well, I must go. I'm sorry about the money. Good night, Aunt.
Good night, Samuel.
The owner's wife, eh? You take after your father, eh? Lazy, clever-tongued womanizer.
He told me about the likes of you. How he suffered at your hands.
I see. Looking for revenge, are we?
My father relieved his own sufferings by making us suffer. My mother and me. He died 3 weeks ago. Now, I didn't shed a tear for him. So I won't be looking to shed any blood for him now, will I? Sorry to disappoint you, Tiger.
If he lays into me like that, I'll kill him.
Is the dispute settled, then?
Yes, thank goodness.
So will you be able to lend us the money or not?
I think I might be able to, yes.
Might?
This new company you're forming.
It is a very charming garden, Mr. Onedin.
My father was very fond of gardening. Now my brother Theodore looks after it, when he's not poring over the company's ledgers.
So your father founded the shipping company?
Yes, and he lived in this house with my mother. Theodore and I were both born here, and we've lived here ever since.
It is very kind of you to entertain us like this.
It was my brother's thought. When we heard from our agent in Liverpool that Mr. Onedin's sister, Lady Fogarty, that she had taken the trouble to visit the injured seaman from our ship, the least we could do in return was to entertain you on your arrival here. Oh, you will have some more coffee, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Onedin.
Oh, please. We have known each other almost 3 hours. Please, call me Max.
Very well, Max.
And you are?
Margarita.
Margarita. How it suits you. Please. You were born in Spain?
No. In South America. In Guyana. My father was the president until 3 months ago. He was killed by rebels.
I sense the tragedy. Strange, is it not? Our tragedy sits upon us like a halo for all to see. My parents died when I was 10 years old. Theodore was almost 4. My father had taken my mother sailing, a rare event. My mother was not fond of the sea. It frightened her. A storm came up. The boat overturned. They were both drowned out there in the bay.
Thank you.
Why, after all these years, am I still not married? You know, sitting here like this with a beautiful woman is the only time that I am truly content. And yet...
What about Theodore? Is he married?
Theodore. Poor Theodore. Women frighten him to death, and yet he falls in love with every woman that he meets. It's true, I tell you. He's already in love with you, and he has known you only 3 hours.
Max, I don't believe you.
Then watch him, the way he looks at you, the way he doesn't look at you. You are longing to be unloaded and setting sail for Liverpool, are you not? I mean, only as a bride, you must be longing to settle into your new home.
Yes, I am. But we shall not be sailing for several weeks. James has some business here.
Ah, here comes Theodore. Ah, just see how much he admires you.
Oh, my dear.
Thank you, Theodore.
Yes, it is a splendid view, is it not? Of course, we have become used to it, and so we do not appreciate it as much as we should. Oh, Captain Baines, have a cigar.
Thank you.
Mr. Onedin?
Oh, thank you. Your brother was telling us about the collision in Singapore.
Yes, I'm afraid that involved us in some very costly and wearisome legal proceedings. And then, just 4 months ago, we lost our newest and most expensive steamer ship in a storm. I must tell you, Mr. Onedin, that when I heard the news from Liverpool that our other ship had caught fire, I cursed the whole shipping world and wished that my father had never gone into it.
With a special curse, no doubt, for those ship owners who would benefit from such a calamity.
Indeed. But then, of course, had I been in your place, I would have done the same thing. Had I been that much in need of a cargo. But then, perhaps it was not just the need of that one cargo so much as the opportunity it afforded.
I am here looking for new trade.
Captain Bain, you will have some coffee.
Oh, thank you. I must compliment you on your cigars. I don't think I've tasted finer tobacco.
Comes from the north of the island. We've had a contract with the growers for many years now. We ship it all over the world. We used to charge them an especially low freight rate in order to avoid competition.
Used to? You've had to increase your rates.
I'm afraid so. Since losing the case over the collision, and then finding ourselves faced with the enormous costs of it, and losing two of our largest ships, Can I suggest, that is, may I offer you the use of our carriage tomorrow, that you may look at the places of interest?
Well, that's very kind of you, Mr. Van der Reeder.
Very kind. We would be delighted to accept.
I could, if you wish, act as guide.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.
Thank you, Crab.
Poor Theodore. He is just like a small boy. Did he tell you about his mother and father?
No. No, he did not. What was up to?
He did say he'd heard from his agent in Liverpool.
You told him, no doubt, that when the ship sailed, the owner was aboard.
He knew about Isabel visiting the injured seaman from his ship. And he was anxious to know how long we'd be staying here.
If Max could solve his financial problems by sinking me, he wouldn't hesitate either.
I see. And so tomorrow, while Captain Baines and I are being shown around the island in his carriage, you will be bidding for their tobacco contract.
Look, Margarita, I reckon Max and I have had the same ups and downs. You sink us today, we pop up again tomorrow.
I know. But it's not Max I'm concerned for. It's Theodore.
Aside from that letter, there's nothing to report, Captain. Here, did you have a good day at the Duchess' house?
Mr. Van der Reeder.
Sorry, Captain.
And two nicer gentlemen you couldn't meet. One of them has promised to show us places of interest tomorrow.
Good news, is it?
It could be. Next quarter day. Now, let's see, a week to unload, and then I need a fast passage home. 11 weeks. Now, do you think we could do it in 11 weeks, Tom?
Why the hurry?
We might, with the help of Tiger's Rope's End. It depends on this new trade that Mr. Oneden's starting up. Now, he never told me anything about it.
What new trade?
How long is it going to take now? That's the question.
Mr. Onedin.
Van der Reeder, I called at your office, but you had left.
What was it you wanted?
I came because I thought it only right and proper to tell you that I had a meeting with the tobacco growers this morning.
That's most considerate.
And I undercut your rate by 2 shillings a ton.
And they told you that they would consider your offer. Did you really expect them to cast aside so many years of a trusting relationship with an old established firm to take their chance with a total stranger? Huh? And for what? Just for the sake of a few shillings?
Why, ask me. You were there this afternoon and had to undercut my rate by another 6pence a ton.
If it's a rate-cutting war you want, Onedin, we can give you one.
Your company's in no position to risk carrying that tobacco at a loss.
Neither is yours. I know all about your company's debts, Onedin. So don't try to bluff me. It won't work.
Max! Oh, good evening. I've just taken Mrs. Onedin and Captain Baines back to your ship.
Thank you, Theodore.
I met one of the growers, Bogart, just half an hour ago.
Well, what is it? A contract for our tobacco. How much of it have you taken?
Oh, I have left you some.
And how much are you carrying it for?
Same rate as you, 78 and 6pence a ton.
If you didn't undercut me, how did you get this contract?
It seems that most of the growers are short of field workers.
Oh, and what have you promised them?
I promised them all the field workers that they needed. From Singapore. You see, I take their tobacco to Singapore, where I store it in my warehouses in readiness for my steamers to carry it to England. And then I carry the field workers on the return trip.
Free of charge?
Aye.
You fool. You'll be ruined.
Oh, I don't think so. They will earn their passage. You see, before they sail, they help me unload the tobacco in Singapore. And then on the return trip, once in Sumatra, they help me load my next cargo. Goodbye, Max. Theodore?
Damn the growers. I mean, grasping. We'll send our ships down to Java ports. Onedin won't be able to undercut us there. His ships can't get in and out of those ports. They're under Dutch control.
I still don't see how Uncle James is going to compete with the Dutch in Java. They've fought for centuries for the trade in those ports. They're not just going to hand it all over to James and Onedin.
Not all of it, no.
Well, you know what I mean. Some of it, then.
I think perhaps I'd better explain.
Well, it's about jolly well time you did, Aunt.
Well, the company's only just been registered, do you understand?
Well, I don't see what difference that makes to Uncle James getting in and out of the Dutch-controlled ports.
Oh, it does. It makes all the difference. You see, the new company is called the Rotterdam Onedin Company, and that other 40% is owned by Dutch investors.
Uncle James. Cunning devil.
That's one of our ships.
First of the feeder ships from Liverpool.
She's flying the Dutch flag.
That's right. Just registered with our new company. Aye. That flag allows us to compete equally with the Dutch, the Java ports. There'll be a second feeder ship here in a week or two.
When are we leaving for Liverpool? That's what I'd like to know.
In a day or two. Mrs. Onedin and myself are having a little holiday.
Doesn't look as if you're going to be in Liverpool for your whatever it is, Captain.
I'll soon see to that. Can't wait to be sailing, eh, bosun?
No, sir. Making the captain.
Well, when we do sail, I want you to drive this crew like no crew has ever been driven before. Now, do you understand?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Damn the man. He undercuts us in every port. Every cargo we tender for, he just happens to edge us out.
Obviously, we are both chasing the most lucrative cargoes.
The man is bent on our ruin. What have you got there?
I spent the afternoon bringing the accounts up to date. Our costs have risen rather more alarmingly than I anticipated.
Damn Onedin, and damn you too. I don't need your figures to tell me what he's doing to us. If you came to me with some answer to this blunderer, some glimmer of an idea, we could put a stop to his schemes, but you come to me with figures. Just like you used to come to with Father. Remember? No, I don't suppose you do. You were too young. Look, Father, I can write from 1 to 10 how clever I am. Yes, you've always been very clever with figures, haven't you? I built up this company and you sat in the office and counted the profits. And now, when misfortune strikes, and damn him, Onedin, all you can do is sit there and count our losses. You're a dead weight round my neck, Theodore, and you always have been. I hate this place, this island, this house. Everything I see here, everything I remember having seen since I was a boy. I think that I've always hated it all. Why have I stayed here all my life? Onedin has done us a good turn, you realize that? He's not driving us out, he's releasing us.
What do you say?
We have got to leave this place. Make a fresh start. There is no other answer.
Leave this house?
Well, what would you have us do? Continue to count our losses until there's nothing left? No. We'll get out while we still can. We'll sell this house. And the office and the warehouses and however many ships it takes to cover our losses. And then, God help us, we'll spend our remaining years in some civilized part of the world.
Take full advantage of it. Mr. Bosun, all hands to crowd on sail.
Come, Baines. Tyrrell's driving him a bit hard this trip, isn't he?
That's my business.
All hands on deck to make sail.
Curse the devil. He was just drifting off nicely.
If he raises that rope's end to me just once more, I'm off to see the old man.
That'll do you no good. The old man who signed him on. To keep you from standing up for his rights. That lot of standing up you've done for us this trip.
All hands, I said! Get down there!
One more beating for any one of us. We do what our says we do.
Kettle, when I call for all hands, I want you to come running, not crawling.
It's none of my business. It's up to the master to interfere if he thinks his bosun is driving the crew too hard.
But James, you are the owner of the ship.
I might be considered to be your owner.
My owner? Because you married me.
I can say you're mine, just as I can say Captain Baines is one of my captains. But he has the right to make his own decisions, just as you have the right to make yours.
Yes, I do see. You must not interfere.
I'll ask you again, Jack Avery. Are you with us in this?
No, I am not a man for violence.
An owner's man, eh? Ever since his new wife spoke up for you.
What does that mean? If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be sailing with us, cursed.
Peculiar one, that, ain't it? Strong union man. Here, by invitation of the owner's wife.
Aye. And us having to suffer for it with broken bodies. And you, Jack Avery, not even willing to help us in the remedy. It is no remedy, that's why.
Oh, yes. Well, it will be. Us will beat him so hard he'll not dare raise hand to anyone on us again.
I call for all hands.
Aye. It's all hands you're going to get, Saga. Well, what's the matter with you two? All together, I said, didn't I?
All together for what, Kettle?
For this!
So, it's inspiring a mutinies, eh, Kettle? Well, you know me. I'm not one for tales to the captain. I'll deal with you myself.
Thanks to you, Jack Avery.
Hey, Kettle. I think he's dead.
You're right. You're right, he's a gunner this time.
What'll happen now?
You let us down this time, Krabby. But you'll go over the side the next dark night. We say nothing. Whenever questions is asked, there'll be not one word from any one of us. This time, Jack Avery, I know you'll want to be with us.
I'll ask you again. What happened? Right. It's your responsibility. Right. You deal with it.
A vow of silence to protect Mr. Tyrrell's murderer. Shipmates to the very end, eh? Well, I tell you this much. The judge in court will be on your side. He'll help you to an eternity of silence, because he'll have no option but to hang the lot of you. Jack Avery, you're the one, eh? I mean, you're the one who thought up this vow of silence. It's your sort of caper. The question is now, which one of these others would you be protecting? Not Crab. I doubt your own mother would trouble to protect you, would she, Crab? You, Larson? Nah. You'd lap up all the punishment Tiger could give you without a murmur of protest. Right then. Kettle. Now, suppose you tell me just how it happened.
The pig is dead.
I've never heard of such injustice. How could he possibly know the man was guilty?
He doesn't know.
Doesn't know? And yet he locked... If that man is hung, it will be my fault.
Hard to port, Townsend. Steady now. our children. It'll give you, as a union man, the chance to put your organising ability to some useful purpose. You'll arrange to collect the money and deliver it at regular intervals.
But, Captain, I'm under arrest.
There's no doubt she'll be on the quay along with the other wives, and when you're passing, you can break the bad news to her. Tell her there was no pain. All over a sudden, like. He fell from the topmast.
Thank you. Captain.
Go on.
Forgive me, Captain. I should not have been listening.
Excuse me, I have some business ashore.
Captain Baines. Yes? I think you are a man who understands the real meaning of justice. I doubted your judgment. What a fool I was. Can you forgive me?
Mrs. Onedin, I hope you'll forgive me that it wasn't a pleasant voyage for a honeymoon. Goodbye, Mom.
Margarita, James, how nice to see you both again.
We are glad to see you again, Isabel.
You're looking very well, Elizabeth.
Aye, and so I should. Due to a little windfall, I've arranged a small celebration dinner for us all this evening to welcome you home. Welcome home, Margarita. By the way, we have a surprise guest for dinner.
Isabel, how beautiful you look.
Thank you, Margarita. James?
Elizabeth.
Max.
Margarita. Onedin.
Andrea, what brings...
Theodore?
Max's brother.
You didn't tell me you had a brother.
No, I didn't. It was very distressing, and I saw no reason to tell you of it. I thought you would have heard before you left for Java, but obviously you didn't.
Oh, heard what?
My brother died.
I don't know what to say. He was such a fine man.
I didn't know him, of course, but I must say how sorry I am.
That is kind of you.
What happened? How did
He drowned himself in the bay.